Yeah. No, to the 20. Yeah, the 29th. Yeah, that's 20.
Yep.
Boom, and we are here. Today is Thursday, September 29th, 2022. Welcome to Beer and a Conversation Show. We are joined by an all-star cast of our host and a special guest, Chris Marani. And those of us that know him. So you should expect nothing other than the vitriol, venomous.
First of all, who the fuck are you talking about? This could go either way.
Unadulterated truth.
Right.
Yeah. If you're from the Stone Mountain area, you probably went to high school or middle school with both of us, and so I'm so excited. We've been having discussions lately. I've been here. We had to alter the show tonight. Candace Smith, who has been highly reliable, and she had her people who are going to come, and we do have one female that's going to come, but we're going to shift the discussion because we want to save the hybrid traditional discussion until next week. So to accommodate Candace under the circumstances. But nonetheless, it's good to be here. Brother Rashid Muhammad is here in the building, and of course, Music Monk ATL and myself. I had actually, this is very interesting. I got thinking about it, Chris, and I started. Have you ever slept with any dykes, man, before? I mean, have you ever?
Hey, where my fucking bell at, man? God damn. God damn, let me get the bell. Let me get the fucking. Where the fuck is the bell? God damn.
I mean, you know what? You don't even have to answer that.
Fuck?
I have.
I have. I'm not gonna do you like that.
What the fuck? Oh shit!
Yeah. We're in the South. We are Confederates. Well, I am a Confederate for sure, and I believe. There you go.
Oh shit!
I believe in the Confederacy, and I believe that
Hey man, hold on, time out. You what?
I am a Confederate.
By what definition?
Well, I am a Confederate because
Ethos, pathos, logos.
Because I believe in the state's rights, and the state has a right to make decisions. Now, as a member of the GOP,
It'd probably better you just call yourself a Federalist.
Right? Yeah, I'm like, yeah, it's the confed, it's the part.
Well, I like the idea of pistols and pit bulls and fish fries and fish fights and
so you maybe
maybe Southerners, yes, but I probably don't qualify as a redneck, but I would just say that we don't believe in watching Dick Van Dyke on Nick at Night. We're in the South where dykes secretly take dick at night. So let's go ahead and
what the fuck are we talking about tonight? God damn it! What did this nigga say?
I think I see where you're going with
all. Shit!
All right, yeah, I'm not tired.
I think I see where you're gonna wrap it back around.
When the dyke secretly take dick at night.
I think he's gonna wrap it back.
Yeah. We're gonna bring it on in, man. Listen,
shit.
I'm gonna put it to you like this, man.
Shit. Do femmes count? Do femmes count as dykes?
No.
Damn. All right.
No?
I'm out.
Ooh. Okay. Can I ask you a quick question before we go forward? Is the brat a femme or a dyke?
She's a hybrid. She's anomalous. She's a hybrid.
Now she a dyke, bro.
Would you sleep with a brat?
Back in the day.
Would you still? I don't care. No. Would you sleep with the brat today?
No. She looked the same with the clothes off. You know what I'm saying? Like that ain't changed. You just have the clothes change. But definitely going that big if I really had to pick.
What was the video she did with all the ladies?
Ladies' night.
Man.
Still a woman, but I won't go after her now than I would probably back then. You know what I'm saying?
I feel like she might have stubble now or something. I don't know.
Ooh.
I think she look different with clothes though. But the clothes, they ain't.
I mean, she is damn near 50 though, right?
Her sister is too.
Lisa Ray?
She's still fucking.
Would you sleep with Lisa Ray?
Come on, what kind of question is that? Hey, grass green.
No, you okay? Fine. No, I mean I'm with you on that. I'm just saying. I mean, we old, so yeah. I mean, 50 ain't even that far off from. Well, some of us are. right there. I'm not going to look to my left, but at any rate, but I want to say something. I want to be very clear about it. I do understand. I had a talk with some women this week about some posts and stuff I put up. We get talking about Nat Turner, the black church, and what the black church has done. And women respect strength. It doesn't matter. True. A lot of them have chosen alternative lifestyles because they've been unable to find strength. So we start talking about buck breaking. We start talking about Nat Turner. Mm-hmm. We start talking about the idea, and I think earlier that's why Monk said the AME church, because they do pastoral appointments, right? And so traditionally, slaves, let's go back to Nat Turner.
Actually, they got bishops and all that. Like, it's almost structured, almost kind of like the Catholic Church a little bit in some regards.
Oh, sure. It's anything, the Romans nationalized Christianity, so Roman Catholic Church.
Is that what they call it? They canonized?
So, it is a derivative, for sure. But we wanted to talk about how it has been a detriment to our community. And then specifically, when we start getting into discussions about why they specifically put weak men in charge of pastoralships, they made a mistake with Nat Turner. Nat Turner slipped through the cracks. And he ended up being somebody real. Typically, they buck broke real men, which means that they sodomized them. They beat them in front of everybody to strike fear and to everybody. And so I think that that's very important for the discussion to understand why. When we start talking about The Woman King, I saw your post. I was very impressed by it, the movie.
You were impressed by the movie?
No, I was impressed by his post about the movie.
Did you see the movie?
No, I didn't see it. I didn't need to see it. The premise for which the movie is built on is faulty in the first place. So,
Brother Rashid, did you see it?
I did.
Okay.
So,
I was asking.
we got a lot here.
I definitely wanted to know your take on it if you did see it, because
yeah.
So
we kind of went down this road last week, but it's interesting to revisit.
But let's. Yeah, that'd be great. Chris, what do you think, man? What's going on, man? Is there a deliberate? I'm going to say this. I believe that critical race theory cannot be taught by black women because they are an integral part of executing the barriers that keep black people back, and they don't understand it. They say things like, I got all these degrees and this, that, and I got degrees. And what they don't understand is that just like in the Family That Prays, where Cartwright had all the black women working there and the black men had to be contractors, black women working, salaried employees, black men contractors when we need you, right? Is a setup by the white liberal system, not the white conservative system. And there's been a war going on between the white liberal and the white conservative far before you and I even came into the fold. It's just as original as the Hatfields and the McCoys, and we are just caught up in the fold of it. And so my point in bringing this up, and we'll bring Nat Turner full circle, I am not saying that the sisters who have gone out and gotten education have not earned their position, that they have not earned their education. But again, I must stress that the hiring of them is based off of masses' ability to control them, and also rooted in some sort of appealing of a sadomasochistic, sexual, deviant desire that he has for them that is dated back to slave times. And so they not confuse themselves. They cannot teach it. White women cannot teach it. White liberal men sure as hell can't teach it. I am not against it. And we saw what happened with Nat Turner. Nat Turner was mistaken for a weak man. Strong black men were buck breaking. Weak black men were installed as ministers to continue out the process, to be a part of the process, and they're still continuing to do it, and they're doing a damn fine job until now because we got something for their ass. Go ahead, Chris. Do what you want. Say what you want to say.
Wow, I appreciate it. Just threw me in there. You're correct.
That was for everyone.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah,
Appreciate
that's for
it.
everyone.
It is a system. It is purposely implemented. And it is also a deviant plan given to our sisters in the form of mobility. They gave them mobility, and they don't recognize the mobility.
Right.
They just see them going up, up, up.
Right.
So that's what I can say about it.
Allow me to propose an alternate thesis.
Let's go.
So maybe it could be that the whole idea of education as it was known classically has been dramatically watered down to the point where most degrees that get awarded are worthless. And a lot of that being because our friends in the government have decided to subsidize. So there's this whole thing about how if you want more of something, you subsidize it. If you want less of it, you tax it. So what was subsidized? Well, student loans were subsidized. And so we got more student loans. We didn't necessarily get more good education, but we got more student loans. All right. And you pair that with, a lot of employers not changing their view of education. So they haven't adjusted their view of education to be what it actually is right now. You know what I'm saying? Which is a bunch of degree mills that are funded by mostly Democrat policies, right? And they are constantly looking for people that have degrees. And women are definitely ascendant on that front. Now, it's an interesting conversation, probably a little bit beyond the scope of what we're talking about, around what these women actually study. And how what they study actually maps to income and perceived productivity and that sort of thing. But I think that it doesn't take, and look, I'm not saying that it's not an intentional conspiracy. I'm not saying it's not that. What I am saying is that it could very well easily just be the result of some terrible government policies and a whole bunch of bullshit degrees that were created that largely appeal to women. And 60s postmodernism that gets injected into higher education that is very much aligned toward black folk, women, and the LGBTQIAA plus crowd, and is very much catering to those groups. You know what I'm saying? And so, but the way that they cater is by creating this sense of reality that is more aligned toward deconstructing and dismantling than is actually building. And of course, the problem there is that it's very easy to dismantle. It's easy to go in. I mean, it's a lot easier to tear down a house than it is to build a house. And any idiot can tear down a house. You know what I'm saying? But you got to have skills and education and some kind of discipline to actually build a house. And that's what we have right now.
And
so
patience too.
All that.
My brother. I'll say this. I'll pose this question for the panel, and y'all do what you want to do with it. My address to the Cobb County GOP on Friday is going to be the candidate Olivia Angel. Her platform is why we should do STEM. Now, this is a woman, she's from the Philippines. So she's a woman of color. She is Asian, but she is also brown.
She's Southeast Asian. So is she Buddhist or Muslim?
She looks damn good.
I'm sure she is.
But I guess that doesn't really matter. To tell you the truth,
I'm not familiar with it.
But the discussion, one of the key points I'm going to have to discuss is, should we go, if under the circumstances, we don't have room for both, and should we go STEM or critical race theory? What's going to be a greater benefit to you?
I agree.
I mean, STEM, nigga, for real?
I mean, I know.
real,
I'm saying
real.
I know.
I mean, you've already.
I'm a Spartan. I'm not an Athenian.
You already.
Yeah.
The goddamn Thermopylae, right? Face ass. So I mean, you've already presented this reason why you believe black women should not teach. Well, really, you've reduced it down to black men being the only people qualified to teach critical race theory.
Well, no, I think that the white liberal power structure of white men could teach it too, but they wouldn't teach it.
Now, let me ask you.
They're the orchestrators of
Go ahead, Chris.
Teach it where?
in public schools. I mean, we're talking about a public school. She's running for state representative.
This is what she wants to do.
One of her platforms, she wants to promote STEM over critical race theory.
Which I agree with.
Theory is even being taught in elementary school.
It's so. So here's the thing.
Hold on.
Here's the thing.
I do believe it's at an academic level.
Hold on.
It's so controversial and so polarizing. What it basically, in a sense, since we've all been indoctrinated in the public school system or wherever you were taught, charter school, whatever, you have been given some form of critical race theory. It may be on a lighter scale, but this is more of like a concentrated curriculum, right? And what it does is that it does go into some of the more seedier details into what actually was happening. My issue with critical race theory is this, and I've been talking about this a lot, guys. My issue with this is that I'm no longer wanting to identify myself as African American. I feel as though that there were some people here, there were a lot of people here for a long time prior to the arrival and the activation of the white man's history. And I am pretty well versed in it, so I do understand the catalyst and some of the things that drove the rewriting of history. But I think that this is what we were talking about earlier. When you keep a people ignorant to who they really, really are, it's easy to throw out slogans and these different little things like critical race theory. I would have never, like, that sounds just as retarded as Ebonics to me, in a sense. You know what I'm saying? It's almost like, and I'm someone like, I passed the GACE the first go around, and I also passed my content certification in social studies, middle school social studies, right? There was 2 sentences about slavery in the packet that I was to read to study to prepare for this content certification. And one of the words said farmers, and one of the other words said immigrants. And this was about slavery. So I can't. So I'm giving you guys insight into why we may be at a critical mass in terms of the real education of what happened to us. But in order for that to really happen, I think if critical race theory is not going to uncover the true identity of the people of this land, then I don't want to fucking talk about it. Because you're just adding more shit to conflate what the real fucking thing is. I don't want to talk about Africa no more. I don't want to fucking talk about Africa no more. I don't.
I got a question.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No, I'm just saying, why don't you help lobby with the GOP even the Democrat Party about being able to change your ethnicity? If you can change your gender, why? I think that you have a legitimate argument.
I do too.
You feel like you're not an African American. Why can't you change that?
I feel like I don't want to be anything that someone told me that I was, and the condition under which you told me has not changed. You see what I'm saying? So my point is that when you label someone black, you label them void of existence and just civility in general, which means when we talk about things like reparations, which has been given to numerous ethnic groups based on what can be charted, when you don't have a level of sovereignty and identity, when you can call yourself something void of life and civility in the eyes of these people, then I mean you gonna be fucking arguing about critical race theory and fucking BBLs and Instagram hoes. Like
I want to change my race. I want to change it to Native American so I don't have to pay taxes.
My point is that you just find yourself distracted from what really is real. You know what I mean? Like I'm trying to figure out what this map really talking about. You know what I mean? Like, do we have a real representation? Like, are you really where they say you are? Do you know?
I've heard.
Do you know?
Upside down stories. I've heard big little stories.
Right,
I've
you know
heard
what I'm saying?
like
And I'm not saying, I'm not saying that I'm leaning either way. But what I'm saying is that the question deserves to be asked. You know what I mean? Like you deserve to. You have the right to say, you know what? I don't feel like I should just vote. And the reason why I'm going with this is because voting like we got to a point to where if we want to look at it, if we want to look at history, the Republicans allegedly freed the slaves. The Democrats are the party of the KKK. 2022. And we're having this paradigm shift, right? That obviously happened probably when our parents, the boomers, were coming up. That's probably when the shift happened. But we have this paradigm shift, and now we're in the point where what have we really gotten in our community? Like I can't really say what I've gotten besides future blame from Stacey Abrams if she does not win this election.
Oh,
and
you're going to get that.
And I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and release the floor to my brethren.
Look, I mean, this is about education. I mean, I do think the concepts of critical race theory are clearly embedded in our education. They may not be reading straight out of Derek Bell's Faces from the Bottom of the Well, but all this privilege and oppression and hierarchy and all that is all classic critical race theory perspective on the world. And I guess my thing is that number one is I don't know what's happened. Like when I was in the 80s, when I was in school, I learned about slavery. I learned about fucking Tulsa. I learned about all of this shit when I was in school, public schools. And now people coming now like this is some new shit. So something has gone wrong. And it ain't that the world has gotten, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm sure the world was more racist in the 80s in middle Georgia where I was in school than it is in Atlanta and these big cities where all these people are complaining about not learning this shit. Like something has gone wrong in between all that shit. And for me, at the end of the day, like parents, I can teach my kids critical race theory. I can teach them that shit. I don't really have a problem with it. The big issue I have is that when the only tool you have is a hammer, every problem looks like a nail. And critical race theory takes race. And that's the hammer. That's it. Everything, every fucking thing you see is race. You know what I'm saying? When there are many other explanations, and with race being one of those explanations, I think it's a simplified, dumbed down view of the world. And if you only learn that perspective, it's a problem. Now, I can see it with other things. There are a lot of different views of the world. I think that there is value in the critiques that come from critical race theory that are worth discussing. But I don't think it's like where they were saying critical race theory is being taught, then people in schools are like, no, it's not being taught. Then the fucking biggest teachers union in the fucking country says, oh no, we're teaching critical race theory and we're gonna spend $20 million making sure y'all motherfuckers learn it. So I'm just saying, I mean, I guess my thing is that shit is not the shit that's gonna make America competitive around the world. You know what I'm saying? Because guess what? Chinese don't give a fuck about that shit. You know what I'm saying? The fucking Indians don't give a fuck about that shit. The Russians don't give a fuck about that shit. You know what I'm saying? What they give a fuck about is fucking intellectual prowess, which critical race theory ain't teaching niggas. You know what I'm saying? So I want that intellectual prowess.
And I also don't like this idea of stirring up the hornet's nest. Like America has always been extremely volatile when it comes to race anyway. Like there's been a toleration, you know what I mean, amongst everyone. Now, you know, and it's very situational. And it's a situation where you can grow up next to someone based on your socioeconomic status and claim that you don't see color, or you can grow up and something happens and you completely see color. Whatever the case is, we're all next to each other, you know, and it's very, very volatile. All it takes is just a series of events for this shit to go crazy. You get enough buffaloes in reverse, if y'all get what I mean. You get enough buffaloes in reverse and this shit could really, really teeter-totter itself.
Hey, the black community is buffalo going forward. You know what I'm saying?
That, which is my point, which is, you know what I'm saying, which is why I think at the end of the day, nigga, leave critical race theory alone. Leave these motherfuckers alone. Like, don't give them a reason to be in your face worrying about what the fuck you doing. Cause to Rashid's point, back in the day, there were stories. The story 12 Years a Slave is not new. It was Gordon Parks directed the TV version of this, and it was called Half Slave, Half Free, and it had Avery Brooks, who played a man called Hawk, who was one of the most gangster black men ever on TV in the 80s. There was a lot of information that was given to you in plain sight. Whether or not it was through a lot of what Cosby did in education, whether or not it was through like, you know what I'm saying, just, I mean, there was this whole push towards like public television. So there were documentaries left and right just about real information. As we started to digitize things and switch from analog to digital, those things got lost. And it was like, now you have to scrub YouTube, or you have to scrub these places where people upload this information. But the information is definitely there. You know what I mean? But what has happened is that America has used education and turned it into something to be consumed as a material, as a consumable good, right? And women are the primary consumers. So we talk about education, but we don't talk about the debt component to it, right?
Which was all the scheme from the beginning.
Right.
That's me.
Let me add one quick thing, bro.
Yes, sir.
Music one.
Yes, sir.
I mean, I think this is fundamentally an issue of institutional failure. So, and it's not even actually an institutional failure. I think what's happening is school outcomes in this country have been going down for a fairly long time relative to the rest of the world. Now, part of that was because the rest of the world just wasn't as developed as we were, and they were inevitably going to catch up.
I got a theory about that too, though. So put a pin in that. I got a theory.
I do have a question, and I think that Rashid made a very good point. Wouldn't even say it was a question. It's kind of a rhetorical question, perhaps, and maybe that can be construed as a statement within itself. When Rashid said something about it should be taught at home, first and foremost, I want to say that I 100% agree with that. I agree that anything that has to do with sexual preferences and all of that stuff should be taught at home.
I agree.
Now, we're gonna go back to my favorite problem. My favorite one. How can it be taught at home if it's not two parents there? And how can black people running for office say that they are for the black community and not talk about how they want to repair the black family? Where is it? I mean, I would like to read it. We're going to get into the ministers in a second because I'm about to tear their ass apart.
Part of the problem is that they can't fix the black family.
Oh, no, you can fix a black family.
No, politicians can't fix a black family.
Oh, the Republican Party's going to take the money from them. That's going to fix a lot of shit. When you ain't got nothing to depend on but each other.
That might remove factors that are in place right now that have some sort of bearing on things, but just removing that is not going to actually make things go back or necessarily make things get better.
It's a good start in the right damn direction.
It may create a better environment for things to change, but the change still has to happen. The work still has to be done. Politicians cannot do that.
I agree with
JP Morgan and Carnegie, they created the modern education infrastructure that we have today. They created it primarily to teach people to sit in one place for 8 hours and learn a skill. With the fall of the factory revolution, where our parents could be able to just walk out of high school and with a trade and just be able to work at a factory for the next 20, 30 years, with them closing those factories, now when you going to college, it's like, okay, you get the sisters going to college, and we're speaking primarily on this for a reason, because that BA in psychology ain't gonna do nothing. You know what I'm saying? Like it just ain't gonna do nothing. It will if you get a master's and then you go and you actually want to practice, or you use it in some sort of forensic sense. You have to elevate that. You have to couple that degree with something else. Is you can't just walk out with a BA with $80,000 in student debt and get a job. Like, because what job are you going to get with the BA? With a BA, a bachelor's of arts, not science.
Yeah, I mean, I generally agree with what you're saying. I just think with psychology, there's a lot of interesting areas that you can go into and that a lot of people don't really know about. But I generally agree with you. Yes, a psychology degree, communications degree. I mean, they're not bad degrees. And if you do well in your core, you learn something. But it ain't an engineering degree. You know what I'm saying? It ain't a business degree. You know, it ain't something that like obviously applies to the world in like the most generic ways. But I feel what you're saying. I mean, you're right. You're right. The industrialization. But to your point about, creating it for a certain reason, all I was going to say was that the institutional failure is that, and it goes to Laris's point too, is that, there's been this myth that like, that teachers make all the difference for a kid. And that's actually not true. We're actually seeing that right now. We're actually seeing that like the education system is not able to do a lot with these kids who are coming from these very poor home situations. And so, but the thing is that like they can't admit that, because if they admit it, then they are surrendering a lot of power. They're surrendering a lot of power in a national myth. If teachers are like, we actually can't do this shit. Y'all motherfuckers at home need to do this shit so that we can actually take them to the next level. Y'all ain't doing the basic shit.
Okay, now we really
Let's go.
30 seconds on this.
Go.
When the amount of time, and as someone that's been in education, you know what I'm saying, have dealt with teachers, all of this stuff, the amount of time that teachers have to spend with with these people's children for the course of like their maturation, right? From like K through 12, they're in school 6 months out of the year for 8 hours a day. Now that math equates to them probably spending more time with the teacher for that period of time, you know what I mean, than really kind of with the parents. In terms of time of day, most formidable years. My point in all of that is like, we're kind of getting to a point, and I noticed that when we were in the schools, education, it just don't have, to Rashid's point, there's an institutional failure because it doesn't carry the same weight, because doing what they tell you to do doesn't produce the same output. And you're hearing all of these or the same results. So you're hearing all of these people tell you, go to school, learn this, and you're seeing over the years how you are not able to apply any of this shit into your regular life. So you lose interest. You just fucking lose interest. And I think that's a reasonable response to someone telling you that something is good for you, and you looking as a reasonable, logical person, human being, and you don't see any benefit over a long period of time. You're gonna be like, why? Now there are some benefits to the social contract, right? We have a social contract that says if you graduate high school, it used to be, on average, a high school graduate would make, it used to be like $28,000, $23,000. You know what I'm saying? It was something or whatever it was, but it was right around the poverty line. Because poverty line has always been like around about 20,000 in America, right? You know what I'm saying? I'm not talking about, not accounting for inflation and all that, but just, you know what I'm saying? It's just been around 20,000, right? So the high school diploma got you, got you slightly above the poverty line, right? And then they said your bachelor's would get you like $35K, which would give you like somewhat of a middle class. If you couple it with the woman and you both are making between 35 and 40, now you guys are living somewhat right. Where you ready? You're still technically kind of like lower middle class. 25 years ago, $80,000 household would put you decent middle class.
You might have been middle.
Median household income now is about,
it's like 70. Yeah, it was like 50,000 about 15 years ago, like 50,000. You know what I mean? But you know what I'm saying? But the whole point is that now you don't necessarily get that.
No, you don't.
Well, part of the reason you don't get it is because I just heard this, and again, I'm gonna have to qualify this because I didn't read the report in detail, and usually when I don't, turns out some bullshit. But I mean,
hold on, let me. It do be some bullshit when you're on fact check.
These education numbers that just came out that show like all the learning loss during COVID, but even before that, were like 40%, like something like 65% of black kids ain't reading that great. Can't read, can't add. You know what I'm saying?
They did this shit to cover up the failures of the No Child Left Behind. I firmly believe that shit. That's a really easy way.
But
COVID is a way to cover it. COVID is a way to cover it up with the loss from the virtual learning. Because what it exposed was that these kids' parents ain't that goddamn smart. Is what the fuck this shit really exposed.
Well, they're not great parents. I mean, not being smart is one thing. Not being great parents is another.
Okay, all right. Let's segue to your point. Yes, they're not great parents, and they're raised by women. And it's not. That's not why that the kids are fucked up. But the reality of things is that the women don't know. Again, I have to go back to the pawn system. They are pawns, and that's why we have to attack the school systems. We have to attack the churches. My intentions are to make a post. Oh, we will. I believe that we will. I think that the good thing is that white men are.
I was just about to say that.
And so a lot of laws are going to change, and any weak black man that is supporting the Democrat Party is just killing himself. Because these people, I'm telling you that these people they're changing laws. People are not going to be able to just take half of your stuff if you get married and divorced. There are going to be things that are going to be raised against false accusations. There are going to be defamation charges brought against people who falsely accuse you in the name of revenge with the law. I'm telling you what's going on. And you got these bitch-ass niggas out here that are going to keep being bitch-ass niggas. And they are going to support this white liberal agenda that elevates a woman. See, God don't even stand behind that, and that's why I don't stand behind the ministers. Like I said, the brothers who robbed the church in New York, I'm proud of them. I'm happy that they did it.
Hold on, man. Goddamn, bro.
That was not. You got to get hot now.
No, bro, you like to slip shit in. You like to slip shit in.
These men are liars.
You talking about the bishop? You talking about the bishop? Okay. You got to say that. You got to say that. You got to say that.
These people are liars. And they are not of God.
That shit was probably staged anyway.
And I'm gonna tell you what, it might have been, but I'm gonna tell you something. We are black men are not. They're not in there. They're not even in there.
And dude ain't indigenous, right? Dude was like African or something, or like
I don't care about that. Bible's a Bible for anybody can read. Listen, the point is that you gonna preach the word, or you finna step down. We're not in any way, shape, form, or fashion under any obligation by God to support anything that is not of God, because God doesn't back you. So you really don't even have any protection, to be quite honest with you. Because who's going to do it?
They're not going to let that 501c3 go.
I understand. Well, you know what? But if they was operating within the confines of the 501c3, it wouldn't be all of these. Now we have a love offering, because you know what that means. A love offering is a gift. Right. You know what I mean? I'm going to start spilling all these secrets. I'm going to start every day. I'm not going to let up. It's going to be every day.
It's not really a secret, Larry. It's not a secret that they're about to close the hospital right here down the street off Cleveland Ave that predominantly services Atlanta Medical Center was formerly Georgia Baptist, which also services Boulevard area, 4th Ward. They're about to close that down. Their emergency room is closing out October 14th. But Southern Regional right here is about to close down as well, if I'm not mistaken. So, but what's up with all the billions of dollars that we've given the black church over these years? Like, we have no schools, we have no bank, we have no credit unions, we have no hospitals.
We don't even have after school programs no more. Let me tell you.
But you know what we got, though? We gotta.
The pastor got a phantom and he getting some pussy because he ain't getting no girls in high school.
No,
you know what I mean. And so now he's finally getting girls.
This nigga driving a Phantom. You know how many churches is around here? These niggas not driving Phantom. They lucky to get a goddamn Chrysler 300, but it ain't. But what it is that you get the funnel and dictate the money, and can't nobody you get to control your own domain. So can't nobody really tell you. So you get to control. You get to be the only rooster in the hen house.
Oh yeah. I mean, they remind me of Scar and the Lion King. It makes complete sense. Listen, here's the point. The bottom line is this: is that it's over with because the brothers are tired. And I would never advocate anything, but I got a strong feeling that if Abrams win this election, it's gonna be a lot of unrest around here.
Yeah,
and
I'm the other way around. If she loses, there might be a lot of unrest.
I'm gonna tell you, like,
it depends on how close it is. I think if he wins by more than 2%, I think she'll have to shut, because she never conceded the last election, right? Y'all know that she never conceded.
Yeah, I mean, we're not standing for that. The good thing is that the white conservatives have begun to back us. I'll be talking again on tomorrow night at the GOP headquarters in Cobb County. And it was a time, when like we would go places as, like I said, as black people, and then it'd be a white speaker. And now look at this, we got a room full of white people, and now it's gonna be a black speaker. Let me tell you something. It's over with because now we got backing. They're gonna surrender, and you gonna preach that word, or you gonna get out that goddamn pulpit. It's no more of this trying to figure. You missed your chance to get girls. You missed it. It's over. You missed your chance. You should have got them.
And the gravy train from the 90s, that's over.
It's over with.
It's over.
You gonna preach what's in that book, or you will be uninstalled. Bottom line, I have a plan. A month of October has 31 days. Well, we are going to come out, we're going to talk about tithing, we're going to talk about what's in the Bible, we're going to talk about the true interpretation of it, theocratic governments and taxes associated with such said laws under the Old Testament. We're going to talk about, I had this young nigga who said he was a minister come to me at an event, and me and him got into it, jaw jacking. He said something about he was a man of God and this, that, and the other, and you can't speak on a man of God. I said, well, until God say you're a man of God, I don't see it. But I will say this, every man is a man of God, because in the Bible he wrote that he left the 99 to go and get the one. So everybody is. You're not above reproach. You're not bigger than anybody. I can go and buy a collar at the store just like everybody else. We don't respect you anymore. You stand for not holding our people and our women accountable for the decisions that they make. And we are under no obligation to help to support and uphold any institution that is to the detriment of our community.
That's why black men aren't in the church anymore.
Yeah. We been knew they was liars, but now it's like, shit, we ain't.
It's one of the reasons.
Yeah, I mean, you're part of the Rifle Club, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can get a couple of them.
I'll tell you. Sure, no problem.
Yeah, I'm just saying this. It's over with. Playtime's over with for you lying ass piece of shit niggas. You gonna preach what's in that book, or you gonna step your bitch ass down? If not, we are developing a movement that's gonna shut your bitch ass down. Period. Consider yourself warned.
They can start by letting go of the 501c3s.
Yeah. You gonna talk about what's in that motherfucking book, nigga.
Government subsidies is better than doing for the community?
Huh?
Government subsidies.
What? Hold on.
Government subsidies for the 501c3.
I'm trying to figure in terms of what?
No. Okay, so.
You read in my face?
Yeah.
No, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Like my face and his face are like we're the reactionary faces. I was reacting to 4 things y'all done said. Oh. It wasn't just one.
No, it was nothing ill though.
Yeah.
I believe.
And that's problematic though.
But again,
the reason
that's where the real gonna show
the
up.
what see
show up.
well see the reason why that's problematic is because I think it'll destroy our ability to be able to get money, even though we're not using it the right way by and large right now. I think it can still be used in the proper way to create wealth in our community.
I may not know.
But if we're using, but with the church thing, bro, like how
501c3 for the church.
that's what I'm saying. That's what I still feel.
that.
But if you attack it for the church, you leave other avenues.
I understand, but what
It's just a slippery slope. That's all I'm saying.
it's this true.
I think that slippery slope goes both ways. I think that
Which
there's
I
a lot to
understand
be
that.
said about recognizing investments for what they are, not what they can save you on your taxes.
I say no because the
Go ahead,
government
bro.
gonna tell you, don't do nothing for the community, don't create any jobs. It's the only way you're gonna get this 501c3.
Right. These niggas is trying to get pussy in a Mercedes, man. And I'm tired of it. And
How much is the average church mortgage? While we talking about pussy and
I don't know.
Most churches probably own. I mean, I don't know how old a median church is, but my guess is that many of them probably own their real estate.
I want to, you know what? I'm
I'd
going to
be
do some
surprised.
research.
Probably-
I'm going to do some research on. I'm
I
going to do
think
some.
we should.
I'm going to do some research on new church construction. I'm going to do some research on the amount of churches per capita
And I want you to look at who's backing these churches.
yeah.
The average size of these
didn't back by
congregations, the average
these
mortgage.
Mormons, because there's two types of Mormons too. These fundamentalist Mormons out of Ogden, Utah. Check it out. These churches a lot of them are backed by Ogden, Utah banks that are owned by fundamentalist Mormons.
I think I heard something about that. But tell me again your idea for that. I like that.
What you mean?
I forgot what that is.
I just want to just do more research into
for
breaking
the church
down. Yeah, you know what I mean? Because in the South, literally in Georgia, we're like the Bible Belt of. We're like the belt buckle of the Bible Belt. You know what I'm saying? Like in terms of concentration of churches. Goddamn, you can't go. And we don't even really have a real city block or a real square mile. You know, we have a real square mile, but in terms of like an actual city block, you might see 6 before before you see a house or a business. You know what I mean? They all stacked on top of each other. And my point is, I want to know from an infrastructure standpoint, how lucrative is it? Because my church, I'm not going to put them out there, their name, but the church that I was born into, not necessarily an active member of, church I was born into just paid off the mortgage, and the new pastor took over about 10 years ago. This is not a small building. And for me, in my opinion, if it was a house, it would be a $3 million house if the size of the church was a residence. Mm-hmm. So I've always been very curious. What are the amounts? What you know what I'm saying? What is the back end social contract that the government does have with churches in terms of with the banks, in terms of their loans, construction rates? You know, because I mean,
Your land.
who repossesses a church? You know what I'm saying? Like, how do you repossess a church? How do you know what I'm saying? It's a lot. I'm just very curious about the business of religion.
I would imagine that they can get foreclosed on just as much as anybody
Well,
else.
they do, and they do get foreclosed on.
But I guess my thing is that the question is, if a donation to a church is tax deductible, what is the opportunity cost of that donation? Which is to say, in plain English, what would I have done with that money had I not invested in the church? And if the tax deductive nature of a donation to a church is crowding out what that kind of is. So the reason they have that is because churches have historically performed a lot of like social functions, like orphanages and feeding the homeless,
Schools
and like there's all
and all
kinds
that
of stuff that
stuff.
churches do.
Ministries, outreach, all that stuff,
like
yeah.
governments could do, and they
don't
can
do
do
it no
it.
more.
And it's kind of like the government kind of like outsourcing some of that stuff to churches, and so that's part of the reason why they subsidize churches.
Well,
I don't have a
But they
problem
don't
with
do that no more.
But
I
I
don't
guess
think
to
they
the
do
extent
no
that they do it, I don't have a problem with it. I guess my issue is that I don't know if like you can assume that churches have the same capabilities for economic development that they do for these types of services, right?
Well, I mean, okay, so to get first and foremost, a 501c3 status would probably beget just an idea. I mean, on the surface, as it's written, it's a nonprofit organization. But nonprofit organizations are there to help the people. And I'm saying that the orchestrators of these are people that are there to help themselves. They're not helping the people. In fact, they're doing more harm to the black community because they just can't stop fucking lying and twisting the word of God.
I agree.
So that they can get some ass because they didn't get any in high school. Like this guy that I talked to at this event.
It sounds like a very personal thing that you do.
But it's funny. It's borderline spot.
Listen, I'm gonna tell you what to do.
Why Jamal?
I
Give
don't
me
know
a
how
call.
many people actually have that problem, but
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you, he knows who he is, and his bitch ass is
I've been sitting there for the last long.
We gotta let him get it off.
Damn. He said he knows who he is.
He knows.
he's watching
You know
tonight.
who you are, and that's okay. That you didn't get
shit,
any
that was too
hoes,
funny.
and that's cool. You're not going to hell because you didn't get hoes. You just don't get hoes. Listen, man, you know me. Well, look, reach out to some people. Reach out to you know who at the RNC. Have them reach out to me, man. I'll tell you how to get you some hoes, man. I'll play Will Smith and Hitch. Man, really, Will Smith ain't really the best name to use right now. But listen, man, don't use a pulpit as a way to get money and hoes. And first and foremost, when we start talking about the church, pastor, we need a clear definition of what the church is, because the church, as Jesus explained it, is a body of believers. So a tithing, I got something for y'all, 31 days in a row. Every day I'm going to put out a live. If you're pushing democratic policies,
what are you?
I'm going to tear the fucking shit out of your black ass. That bitch is not getting in office as long as I'm alive.
Doing it for?
Bottom line, you know.
Hey man,
Look,
look.
man,
Hey,
I don't
first
know if it's necessary to be name calling.
I cannot agree
Number
with
one,
that.
I don't know
You've been
about
doing
like
good.
talking about
I
hoes in the like context of
I
like
can't do
church
that.
and God and all that stuff.
Yeah, I can't.
I
They
know
don't
about,
believe-
like,
I
calling
can't-
Stacey Abrams.
I can't,
Stacey
bro.
Abrams can be like not
Yeah,
representative of our policy preferences,
None of them
and
black
still
folks
and
are.
not be a bitch.
Yeah.
You know what? You're right. You know,
Yeah.
I shouldn't have said that. You know, but she does. I can say this, and I can say this unapologetically. I take back calling Stacey Abrams a bitch, but I don't take back the fact that she says that she represents the black community, and she has not put anything in place that represents a restoration or a plan or an idea or even a comment about restoring the black family. I am willing to be standing corrected if that information exists. And I expect the white man to not do that. But but black people that don't talk about the restoration of the black family so they can continue to profit off of black suffrage, you're the enemy. So maybe a bitch is not the right word to call her. I don't know what you call her.
I mean, you could just call her wrong.
Yeah. You could just call her wrong, sir.
She's going to create government programs to help black people and stop gentrification.
Says who?
It says her website. That's what it says on the website.
So y'all did read the agenda.
I've read it. After I called her a Marxist, I was
y'all-
like, shit, let me actually like read her shit.
Do we all agree that it's all inclusive?
Oh
And
yeah.
what? Hold on. What's
Agenda.
all inclusive of who?
Hell yeah, that's everybody.
We everybody?
Is it that?
Nick?
Ooh, that's a fundamental question. That's a big question.
No. What I'm saying is, like, it says for black men, but once you read it, it starts throwing in black businesses, and everybody, and
Yeah, I mean, it has to. I
can't
can't
be. So number one,
she's not going to say
that is
specific.
actually illegal.
Yeah. I mean, she's not going to specifically. I think
what do
we're.
the title of the agenda say?
I think we're. Well, I personally.
That's why I'm talking about her agenda for black men or whatever.
Okay, what I read was that she said she was not going to explicitly appeal to black men. She was going to talk about just all the shit she had.
Well, why is she begging for black men vote?
How it helped black men.
She's begging for votes?
She believes that her platform helps black men.
That's what she thinks.
That's what the government.
That's what she
thinks.
Going
to make black men's life better, then maybe it is.
The problem is that when you have people on MSNBC, there's a sister that hosts a show on MSNBC,
Tiffany
and she brings up the late Kevin Samuels. She brings up Tariq Nasheed, and she says that the listeners, the black men who listen and follow these men, are the men who are not going to vote for Stacey Abrams, and they're the reason why she's not going to win. And I'm like, what does a dead man and a cultural archivist have to do with Stacey Abrams?
Right.
I don't understand it. Like, the reach was so far. It was so far to the point to where, like, it's going to be perpetually offensive for me to even think about her moving forward, because she's igniting just a lot of pettiness amongst black women towards us for no reason. I'm like, God damn, like, for real, I'm going to vote the way I want to vote. And if I do decide to vote for the governor, which I'm looking like I don't really fuck with neither one of these motherfuckers, to be honest. That's really why I'm sitting at it.
There is a libertarian in the race, by the way.
Well, let's talk about the libertarian.
Well, I want to say this. Olivia Angel, who's running for state representative, I'll be speaking on her behalf tomorrow. One of the things that one of her other big legislative pushes is the idea that senior citizens should not pay property taxes, and they're on fixed income. And so, for the most part, fellas, the damage has kind of already been done, because a lot of people in Mechanicsville and Pittsburgh have lost their homes because the property
tax in Fulton County for years.
What you mean?
Like seniors, like over 65.
Yeah, you don't even have to pay a school tax. You ain't all that type of shit, man. You get major tax.
Well, I mean, maybe it ain't that way in Cobb County. I'm telling you,
I know in Fulton County and in Fayette County.
But I know it's a lot of okay. To your point, let me say this. I will say that there are, and for whatever reason, I don't know why those reasons were, but there are a lot of people who had unpaid tax liens that were bought at the courthouse on the first Tuesday of the month that lived in Atlanta.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of different reasons for that sort of shit.
Yeah,
and there was a lot of them were senior citizens too. I don't know what the correlation or level of association with it is.
I would be interested in knowing that. Like, I don't claim I actually know all the reasoning behind all that. It would be interesting to know exactly what.
I would think.
Sometimes people don't know. You have to sign up for this shit too.
Yeah, you know what I mean. Matter of fact, I just faxed a tax document for a senior citizen today to help them out with some paperwork. Yeah. So, I mean, there's all kind of tax breaks. I think that education is one of the key reasons why we've lost our property like this, because we've been focused on, our generation, the boomers were focused on, we got you all this far, you all better go to college. We don't really care what the fuck you do, just go to college. And there's nothing wrong with that, but there was a different level of education that we needed in order to maintain and preserve what the gains that were gotten by our people. There weren't enough people to go to, not necessarily, I'm not necessarily saying go to college, but I'm saying go to, have desire to be educated in the manners of how to keep property, how to do real estate. Like, what I'm saying? Like, it always seems to be a fad with us. It always seems to be something that we catch on to after the market's hot and we have the catchphrases. But in terms of just fundamental education and infrastructure, there are things that we don't pass down. You know what I mean?
You said something about how we lost our land through education. I also want to add predatory lending.
Well, I'm saying lack of education, which is how you get, which is how
you can only be prey if you don't know what the fuck is going on.
Right, that's what I'm saying. So lack of education.
I agree. Okay.
And lack of infrastructure and lack of desire. Like for me, I grew up because I spoke a certain way. You trying to be white. Not like, oh, I just want to learn how to read and understand what the fuck these and articulate and what the fuck these people put in these books.
Right.
Like, it doesn't make me anything other than just educated. And I think what happens is that, and Thomas Sowell talks about this. If you guys are not familiar with Thomas Sowell,
Give me the bell. Give me the bell.
Hey, your brother, your little bro, growing over here, man. But Thomas Sowell talks about that. You know what I'm saying? He talks a lot about how we have how we just, it's our culture. Our culture is really one of the
education.
Yeah, it's one of the main reasons why we are in this perpetual cycle and can't get out of our own way.
All right, wait a minute. Let me make another point. You said our parents always.
Here, you go ahead and give you a minute. You a minute. We got 3 minutes. Go ahead.
Parents always say go to school. I had a conversation with one of my family members, and she was saying that when they was growing up, they was taught go to school, go to school, go to school. When it came to us, it was go to college, go to college, go to college. But when you look at it in retrospect now, I believe, I'm gonna say this, I think they fucked off the most robust economy America ever had. Our parents, or our grandparents, between the 70s and 2000. And every generation has to start over. For 75% of us. Do you see that, or am I the only one?
No,
You got it?
no, you're right.
They blame it on the millennials eating all the avocados, but that ain't it. They sold us out a couple of times.
What you say, Rashid, my brother?
I got a lot to say, man. On the whole, like, it's a funny thing. I dated a lot of women who've had a lot of different educational profiles and pretty impressive educational profiles that can't stop themselves from buying a fucking $5,000 purse and say the fucking lies. And that kind of education, which is like discipline, how to treat a fucking dollar, like that shit will get you way further than practically anything you will learn in higher ed. Because the thing is that you can earn all the money you want. If you don't know what to do with it, it don't matter. It's almost like not having it at all. So I definitely think that most colleges are zombies, that we already have the mechanisms to educate the masses without ever stepping into a college classroom. It's all out there for free. If you want it, it's out there for the taking. You know what I'm saying? But in order to exploit it, there's some fundamentals you gotta have though. Some fundamental habits you gotta have. You know what I'm saying? You gotta understand how to vet information and how to have the discipline to study and spend time and mastery. You gotta have that, and that's a value system. You know what I'm saying? That you gotta have in order to really exploit this stuff. But I think, to your point, I think we've kind of skipped ahead of that and think that it's just about like the education and what education can bring in, but it's about having that solid foundation so that whatever that education looks like, whether it's plumbing or whether it's a PhD in computer science or whatever, that you have the foundation to take that and turn it into something that's sustainable, something that can support you and your family, and you ain't just blowing your money on a bunch of bullshit that's making you broke in the end.
This is the series finale, last season of Atlanta, one of the best shows. Y'all watch it tonight, FX, tomorrow on Hulu. All right, peace. East Point Smoke.
Smoke some dank.
On National God.